So this tutorial runs through the pool landscaping design workflow. Essentially, someone asked, my boss gave me this sort of this CAD drawing with lots of reference images, and their boss wanted a 3D render of what the space would look like with all these references included. It is quite a high resolution draft or CAD drawing, and they were quite specific that their boss wanted the swimming pool to look like this or to be in this particular design. Okay, so I thought, oh, let me just take on a challenge and try it out and see if we can actually create a 3D render with all these references given in this space. So this is how I started. I imported the high resolution drawing with all the references, but these references are actually built into this image. To save you time and credit, you can actually avoid this whole section here, and you can also avoid this whole section here if you just import the images directly into Weavy. So in this situation, what I did was I thought, okay, I don't have a high resolution image of this reference, so let me prompt for that. I actually went over, created a system prompt LLM combo, and I just said, give me a high resolution version of this image. And in the system prompt is more for textures. So I am actually stating things like how the concrete looks and the finishing of the concrete to give me the textures of the concrete. Or I also prompted for the vegetation as well, to just have the leaves to look a particular way, the footpath to look a particular way, and the textures, just to bring out the textures so the image looks real. What a lot of people tend to do is they tend to use different AI image models to see what the outcome would be. So I used two in this situation, and the result I picked was Nano Banana Pro because it was closest to the original image. Again, if this was my personal preference, I would have probably gone for Sea Dream 4.5 because it looks warmer. The concrete actually looks quite real, quite realistic. It has all the textures that I actually need. And you can see it's a 2K image upscale. Again, this is up to you. You can choose what you want. Nano Banana can also upscale or can output different resolutions as well. For this quick test, I just left it on 1K because I wanted to see what the actual outcomes would be and pick one and go from there. So with the outcome, I decided to upscale the images. Again, this was a quick reference. Oh, do I want to use Magnific Precision Upscale version 2, or do I like the look of just a normal image upscaler clarity that is built in to Weavy? This is 2 credits, which is quite good, as opposed to the Magnific Precision, which is 18 credits. Again, this is just a test. So the image upscale version 2 came out quite nice, quite good, and I thought, okay, let me just use this particular version. Moving on to extracting the reference images from the client mood board. So yeah, this could be a mood board that the client sends you. They have all the images. They might not even have the high resolution images that they have attached separately. So this method might help. What you do, you just crop each of these references separately and upscale them to get a good resolution that you can use for creating the 3D render. So what I did was I created 8 different nodes. the all crop node, and I just cropped each of them to include the names. After doing that, I then converted all of them to high-res references. So again, using a similar prompt, I just said, give me a high-resolution version of this image. No white background borders or pixels, no artifacts. Label each image with their corresponding text. This will just visually help me to see what each of these images is, and also help the LLM to also read the text and use the images as references in a further mood boards down the line. Okay, so again, this is just an example of me just A and B testing to see the best results, the best outcomes. And you can see some really good outcomes using Seedream version 4.5. Again, for credits, you can decide to use Nano Banana. It's totally up to you. But I just thought, let me go with Seedream 4.5. And you can see the boulders. All these examples are, see, that is 4K. That is almost the same type of resolution. So these are quite high resolution images, references now that we can use in a further mood board. Okay, now we have got all our images. There are two ways you can actually proceed. One, you can create a mood board. Here I use the compositor node and a whole bunch of routers just to keep everything clean and aligned, instead of having too many lines going everywhere. So just to keep everything visually organized so I know what layer 1, layer 2 looks like. I use a compositor node to create another mood board, but with all the high resolution images labeled so that the LLM can use it as a reference for to build the 3D render. And in this situation, this is a rough layout. Because this was not my personal reference image choice, everything is a different crop ratio, and I wanted to keep as much of the detail of the references in as possible. But in this particular method, once everything is organized in the compositor node, you are essentially taking one image and using that one image in as a reference for something like Nano Banana Pro, instead of having lots and lots and lots of inputs. So in this situation, what I did was I generated a high resolution version of this reference image, upscaled it to get a good resolution, and then I changed the camera view to make it top down. I tried lots of different prompts and lots of different image generation nodes, but the best one that gave me a top-down 90 degrees overhead drone view was GPT Image 1.5 Edit. So it looks really good, you know, all the detail in there. So I decided to use this as the 3D render for the top-down view as a reference input for this particular section. So you can see this is basically the tool that we want to reference from this. We don't really need the vegetation, but I want this angle. Our second reference image is this one here. So what I did, I'll just zoom out. I actually took this reference image, which is high resolution already, it's good, but I find it quite hard to read the light orange text on a white background. So I just prompted again to just change everything orange to black, so that it just makes it easier for me to see, and hopefully easier for the LLM to see as well. And that is where we get this section here. Again, it's nothing too dramatic, so I can use something like Flux 2 Pro, which is another really good image model. And I just said change the orange graphics to black, and it did just that. Everything that was orange, it changed to black, even the yoga beds and references. So it's moving back to this mood board or reference sheet methods. I'm using the top-down view as an input reference. I'm using the black text reference image here, and I'm also using this mood board reference image as an input. I'm just going to use the preview node so that we can see. I'm going to bring in the preview node so that we can just see what each of these look like. So you can see quite close by, side by side, sort of, we can see that the pool is quite similar. So we have the 4 steps, we have the lighting from this that has been transferred over to this. You can see the shadows are quite similar as well. And let's try another one. You can see the reference images as well. So you can see something like this gravel has been put down here. We can see these rusted planters have been aligned here. You can see the bench and the bushes are over this corner here. The pool color, the yoga mats, and the boulders as well are in the pool. So it's a nice style transfer from the massive compositor node image that we just input. Let's see this one as well. And we can also see that using this annotation on this draft sketch, you can see that the LLM did a really good job at also positioning everything where it needs to be. So you see the pool and the top-down view is here. You can see that the yoga mats have been positioned on this side of the pool, right here. And you can see the boulders have been put in quite a similar looking style as well. So you can see one of the rocks is far out here, and we have this rock far out here as well. Again, you might want to tweak some things because this is just a quick edit of what it might look like. So I then decided to take it a little bit further and just imagine that we were down near the yoga mat looking out at the pool, just to see what that view looks like. And then what I did was I used the compositor node again to input some landmarks, shall I say. So the green dot would be where the person is standing. The arrow is the direction the person will be looking at. So I did that here. And again, prompting it was a separate issue. So I used the system prompt LLM combo that we tend to use a lot. It's more, the LLM user prompt and system prompt combo is a bit like using a custom GPT if you're very familiar with using custom GPTs or gems in Gemini or custom GPTs in Chat GPT. So I'll just name this system prompt. So essentially, I tried to just prompt it saying, imagine the viewer is in green, looking in direction down the line of the red arrow, to prompt what the user sees. Imagine the user is 6 foot tall. That was good, but it generated some really weird results along the line. So the prompt that worked for me was actually describing what the viewer sees from the green dot down the red arrow. So this prompt is used to describe what the viewer is seeing. This is the prompt that worked for me. It's essentially describing where the viewer is positioned and what the viewer is going to see from that position, and that's where the LLM generates me a prompt to give me the view from what the user will actually see. Again, it's a 3D render of a possible view of what the user will see from standing near the yoga mats. And the system prompt is just, again, it's just a guide telling the LLM to remove the green and red annotations and just to translate what I've actually put into this user prompt, to translate that into an image prompt for the Google Gemini Pro. In this case was Nano Banana 2. So again, we've converted this sketch into a 3D render, which is quite cool. Again, you don't have to go through every single step that I've done. This is just an example of how you can go about it, just the way I'm thinking about the process. So this is one method using the reference sheet method that we generated here. Instead of generating this reference image, you can actually just feed in a whole bunch of images into a Nano Banana Pro node. For example, Banana 2, for example, can take quite a lot of images. Nano Banana Pro can also take quite a lot of input images. I think Nano Banana Pro can take up to 14 reference images. And again, you might have to just tweak it to just make sure that everything works to your satisfaction. But here, what I did was I inputted quite a lot of images. So I inputted 10 images, 8 of which are the reference images from this draft. And the rest of them are just this layout, for example, this draft layout pointing in the direction of where each of these images should be. And we have one image that is this top-down view as well. So we have a top-down view. We have this reference image of where all the materials should go. And then we have 8 images that are the references from the sheet. After some prompting, you can see that we get something that is quite close to what we're looking for. We have the pool, we have the yoga mats laid out, we have the vegetation, we have these potted plants as well. Again, you would need to run through quite a few different iterations just to make sure that you get something that you are happy with. I decided to do these 2 methods just to show you that, look, there's more than one way of actually achieving the results. So some of them will need you to prompt and prompt and prompt a lot to get you something that you want, while some of them will get you close to something similar to what you're looking for. Again, this is just a test 3D render to show possibly what the space is going to look like. Again, you just have to tweak to make it close to what you actually want to see. I think using the mood board probably gave us something quite close to what I imagine this space will actually look like. While using these images as references, again, you are inputting a lot of images, so the context windows gets quite saturated. So you might just want to use, again, a different method to prompt to get you the result that you might be wanting to look for. To prompt here, I use something like must use images 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 as landscape prop images. That's the reference images. And then use images 1 and images 3 as precise placements and help to actually place those items in the positions that they're supposed to go into. Again, no text, no graphics, so this is just standard because sometimes it could add all these lines and all these text from this image here. So again, using that is like a negative prompt to just say, look, don't include any text in the final image. So just to push it a bit more, I then put this little prompt just saying, essentially give me a point of view. Imagine a 6-foot guy standing in the middle of the yoga mats and looking out into the scene. What is he going to see? And you can see this gave me quite a good result, which is a 6-foot man stood out looking out into the garden. And this is pretty much what he will see if he was in this particular scene. Here you can always prompt more. You can always say, oh, make the sky blue with clouds, make the background fade out, like depth of field. So you can always prompt more, but this was just this is just a test to give a quick 3D render of what the space will actually look like. I hope this helped. Any questions, just give me a shout and a comment, and I will be happy to help.